Okay, we're gonna start today, the Escambia Children's Trust Bylaw Committee meeting on May the 3rd, 2021. It's a little after 10 o'clock at the Ernie Lee McGahey Government Building. So we're gonna call this to order. My name is Stephanie White, and we have present with us
Carolyn Appleyard, interim administrator.
Patty Hightower, board member.
and we have Ms. Johnson who's doing minutes. We're waiting, Ms. David Peden is on the way, and Tori Wood should be here in a second. But Ms. Hightower and I are gonna go ahead and start the discussion and then go back when they get here to explain what we've discussed. So on the agenda, we have a motion to accept the agenda. I guess we don't need a
We
motion.
don't need that.
Okay, all right,
Normally, committee work is not
motions.
motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, so, attached to the agenda were the Florida, we have Florida Children's Council sample bylaws for the Escambia Children's Trust, and, Michelle Watson sent that over to, the trust back in February, or January, February timeframe. And Patty Hightower was able to comment to those sample bylaws, and so was, Judge Frijahovic was also able to comment to the sample bylaws. So, I'm gonna open it up for discussion as to how we want to do the bylaws. To Ms. Hightower.
My advice would be that we use, I think it's because of maybe, that we just start with the draft. I had, for the February meeting, I had taken both my edits and the judge's edits and then put them together. But that's just an extra thing. But as you look at the judge's edits, and since she's not here, I'm not really sure, but what I did since our last meeting is go through the Hillsborough, the Martin County, all of those trusts, and they're set out the same way these draft bylaws are. I know in the judge's edit, she had rearranged some articles, but looking at all of those other entities, they had used the same format. They didn't necessarily have the same things written under each article, but they had the same articles and in the same order. So I don't know if that's something we want to just start with.
Is to go over that.
Well, just to say that we want to keep the order the same.
Yeah, I think we should keep the order the same. There's this one. We should keep the order the same also. I know that Robert's Rules is not, a law, but they also go through and give you what Article 2 should be, Article 3 should be in members, which is kind of what
Yeah.
they are in the other
Yeah.
organizations as
A
well.
couple of the other organizations have preamble, then purpose,
Right.
then membership, but I think,
Hello, we
Hey.
just got started.
yeah.
I live in California.
Well, David Peden did as well.
Because your meeting next Monday is at the Hall Center. I would suggest that we go article by article.
That's perfect. Okay, let's do article by
Okay.
article. So we're starting with the Escambia Children's Trust draft ones that Michelle Watson sent out.
This
We
one.
have those. Those are the judges.
Okay.
And then I had some as well, but we,
We're starting with those.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. Just
Of
like
course.
a, base.
Yes,
That's what
ma'am.
she sent out back in February. So article by article. I did like how the judge kept
Yeah.
everything, they called it the Escambia Children's Trust. I think we should go and keep that format throughout, if that's okay, at the beginning. So she put,
what did she put that's different?
well, she just changed this right here, the Children's Trust of Escambia County. She left it at, she put it the Escambia Children's Trust.
Oh,
And
Just
okay.
look at the
special-
website
Okay,
and everything
okay,
says.
yeah.
That's what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're called, according to this, according to the statute, or according to the ordinance,
The Children's
the
Trust,
Escambia Children's Trust.
yes, we did.
So she just
Okay.
went through,
Yeah,
and wherever it said Escambia,
Children's.
she just went through, and so
Yeah.
I think we should definitely
Yeah.
agree with that.
yeah,
And then she, in the preamble, she just changed a little bit of the legal, how you write
yeah,
statute.
and I'm fine with all that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Any comments on that?
No, ma'am?
Just jump in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, and then Article 1, I had talked to Michelle Watson because I was getting confused as I read through the bylaws. Sometimes it was board, sometimes it was trust. And she suggested that we put the governing board of the Escambia Children's Trust. And then you could put after it parentheses board if you wanted
Okay.
to use that throughout. Like in a contract you designate.
designate. So-
Right.
That's perfect. So to the governing board of Escambia County Trust and then Friends Board
Yeah,
shall consist, and then wherever we talk about, it should just be board throughout.
right.
Okay,
Because I think that helps, because we're not, we are the trust, but the trust is
actually.
a larger, we're the governing board of that trust.
And then she recommended judge should be lowercase, which technically it should be lowercase, so that's not a big deal to me.
And I know later on in the document, and I noticed in the other ones that they didn't do it, because, there is stipulation about what the judge can and cannot do,
Yes.
and that's later on, so I don't think it has to go here. She didn't put it in here, did it? Okay, good, all right. All right, any other things?
I did notice that for some reason Broward, one of them has 11 members, which I didn't know how they got to that, because they had the Department of Health as a member, which that's not in our statute. So,
No,
which is,
no.
I just thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
yeah. All right,
All right,
so,
meetings next, do you want to, the judge moved officers' elections and vacancies up, but we think it should go to membership for,
as I stated before you got here, Tori, when you look at all the other trusts around, they all have this basic,
Yeah.
Template.
Yeah.
and I think it will just be easier if we keep with this.
Okay.
She doesn't really say why she moved it,
well, maybe.
because even when I looked at the template for a not-for-profit,
Yeah.
It-
I don't think it matters.
yeah,
Okay, so regular meeting, so you put of the board, not of the
Right.
trust, of the board. So I like it where it says at a monthly time and place set by the board, instead of saying, or we could.
no, you don't want to,
change-
remember this about bylaws. Bylaws require a supermajority of members to change the bylaws. I think there are many things that either this committee or another committee will have to do in the future to create policies where you will deal with things that, Tori and I are very aware of policies at the PTA, which would stipulate that you're going to meet on
Right.
the second Tuesday at this time, and would say whether people could phone in or not phone in, and those kind of things, but that wouldn't necessarily need to be in the
Right,
bylaws.
exactly. So I like that it's held monthly at a time and place. The annual meeting shall be held in January. Does that, I don't know. Some of them did November, some of them did March. I don't know what the magic of January is, except I need to think about,
That's when we start the budgeting process for the county and the school district.
okay,
That may be why it's January.
that's fine.
I
The
mean-
the budget is, it's October through September.
Yeah, yeah.
So January is kind of, that's fine if that works for,
It doesn't matter to me, and
okay.
so if somebody else on the board has a reason for it. The thing that I was concerned about, but Ms. Rogers assured me it was okay, because it says you have to give, the electronic notice has to be at least 5 days prior to each meeting. And I just wanted to be sure, but she said that on the record, because
What- and she
ours
has a
has to
comment
say
about
7.
She said, yeah,
This says 7 in the judge's
Yeah.
notes.
let me check on this.
Yeah.
Some of your language regarding the scheduling.
Because we have to publish our agenda 7 days
Some
ahead.
of them had 7, some of them had, if you look, most of them had 5. Let me check that statute out real quick.
And does anybody know if that means all the documentation, backup
No,
documentation?
the agenda has to be published. It does not have to have everything attached to
Okay,
it.
oh, interesting, okay.
Okay.
It just needs to say, what is going to be discussed, and we try to get it attached at least a week ahead. Ours gets published usually the Friday preceding our Thursday and Friday meetings. So it's really more, it's like 10 days ahead of our agenda, but some things are missing, so.
I think it'll get easier to do this once we have the monthly meetings, these like short meetings. we
Right,
have
right,
for like-
it's these working meetings that are gonna.
Yeah, but that, I just needed to know that 5 days was enough.
I'm gonna check that statute.
Well, they did 72 hours this time, so.
Well, special meetings are different.
Okay, good.
Yes, but we'll go.
Okay.
The governing body of each special district shall follow quarterly the schedule. Okay. The governing body of an independent special district shall advertise the date, time, place, and purpose of any meeting other than a regular meeting or any recess to read at least 7 days before such meeting.
Yep,
So
so that
should
should
we
say
say-
It
7.
needs to say 7.
Okay.
Hold on, the advertisement is just, okay, yeah.
I think it's better if we say 7.
Come on in, Mr. Heaton.
So our notice
Well,
for,
it was on the,
No, I had it on my calendar. I had the same thing. Only reason I knew is because I Googled it this morning just to make sure.
For, everybody, you can go on My Meeting site on the
That's where I went
county,
this morning.
and it'll give you all the information.
next
We
week
just
is
started,
over there.
we decided to use the draft bylaws that,
Were
Michelle
created,
Watson- Michelle Watson
yeah.
created, so, yeah. So you have, those are judges, and you have
And,
yeah, so we're
yeah,
just.
you had my edits and the judge's edits, and then you had the regular
Speak
ones.
up. Oh, they wanted to speak up, so you,
Try to hear a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can keep ours here.
can you put that in?
Yeah.
Okay, I can take my mask off, I guess. I've been vaccinated.
So we just started the regular meeting section.
But did you have any issues with the preamble or the membership in terms? We've kind of gotten through those.
So we're gonna call it the Escambia County.
Escambia Children's Trust.
And everything else is pretty much the same as the other 10 other bylaws we've reviewed. And then we decided the regular meetings, it has to be 7 days per the statute, not 5 days, to send an agenda out.
Okay.
And we inserted the governing board, and we're going to use board throughout the document after that.
Okay, so meetings may be canceled or rescheduled by a majority vote of the trust, or the board. Special meetings may be called by the chair or in the chair's absence by the vice chair or the treasurer.
I saw that in all of the ones we looked at, and I'm just thinking, that's so wordy. When you, because normally when you have your officer description, it'll be the chair serves, in the absence of the chair, it's the vice chair. And it would seem like these things would just follow that order as well, but, yeah, I don't have a problem with leaving them in, I just think it's a lot of words.
Do we need to put special, how often we should provide reasonable notice?
Special meetings, I think, are 72 hours.
Okay, it's not in here.
I think it is somewhere, because I thought I saw it
Shouldn't be
somewhere in
this
here.
part, though?
Yeah,
Well, here it says at least 7 days before such meeting.
That's regular.
Right, no, this is under special.
because I was thinking it
Oh,
was
yeah, it's
there,
at least
yeah,
7 days.
yeah.
So we
Yeah.
could change that, because special does special need to be 7 days as well? And then emergency is when it's different.
Yeah, this was the part that I was having difficulty with when I was,
Yes, it's hard to see. So I think we should put the number and then,
because here you're going to say, under special meetings of the trust, paren board, or you put board there?
I'm gonna put board through all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Okay. And then, what have I got?
Okay, so special meetings are 7 as well.
And it's going to be interesting to see how the new legislation impacts the requirement for advertising. But I'd leave this the way it is at this point, because who knows what will actually happen with that. Because there was something where they were going to allow you to post it in a different location and count it, but that will be one of the biggest costs for the board, is the advertisement of the meetings. I mean, we can advertise with the county, so that would take it off if we get that permission to do that, or you can put them on the, you know. But if we had to do a separate advertisement, like we have to do with our trim notice and everything, that's an expensive. Just saying that, because as you're thinking about budgets. Okay, did she have any comments on special meeting?
No, she didn't have any comments.
Okay.
Emergency meetings, it says,
And I had inserted in, if you look at the red, in the second paragraph, I did, bona fide is,
I don't know what does that mean?
it's, the only thing I come up with was it was legal. So I put, the trust may provide, items that require immediate action due to a possible harm that may result if held until a regular or special meeting may be considered at an emergency meeting.
That's what Hillsborough has.
Yes, I stole it from them. 24-hour notice must be given to each trust or board member in order for that to happen.
So you want to switch out bona fide to items that require immediate
Immediate
action due to
action.
possible harm that may result if held. Now, this bona fide is a little more broad, I would think, than this, but I don't think,
Well, an emergency
Matters.
meeting really should only happen if there's something
Emergency.
that would necessitate us taking an action. And harm may not be the right word. You know, at the school board level, we have emergency meetings when there's a hurricane coming, and we
Gotcha.
have to take
Okay.
action about things like that, so,
page, it's the second page, 2.3.
and then and then I wrote, instead of, the notice is to be accompanied by an agenda specifying the
Notice
subject.
Is to be accompanied by
Yeah, I don't know why, because it says that, oh, I must have inserted that for some reason. Is to be accompanied by agenda specified, no, it's there, okay. I must have taken that out and put it back in.
we said 24 hours. David, any thoughts on emergency meetings?
No, I'm good with that.
If you want to leave bona fide in, you
No,
can, I
I
just,
like doing what you said, 'cause I don't know what bona fide,
yeah. I mean, your bona fide and my bona fide but could be different.
right.
And then the judge inserted some additional statutory language in the, where she, doing the Florida stat stuff. I don't think she did have some comments on emergency.
Just said, are we to trust the board?
Yeah,
And then, and she went like the format to it.
yeah, yeah.
All right, public meeting, section 4. That's fine. It just says that we are subject to requirements of sunshine law, basically, right?
Yeah. And I don't know whether we want to, is this where I want to insert that? No, that's not it, I guess. Yeah, okay.
Minutes,
Okay, I had some comments on the minutes.
okay.
Because it came from one of the other ones. At one time, I had written out who I took them from, but now I have lost that chain of thought. Where it has minutes of each minute shall be accurately taken, preserved, provided. Minutes shall record the vote of each member present on the matters on which the trust or the board, yeah, takes action, unless otherwise shown by the minutes. It shall be presumed that the vote of each member present supported the action taken. at the school level, and I think at the county level, it records the vote was 4-1, or, and I think probably, from my experience in the government arena, this puts in writing who was there and who voted to affirm or not affirm. And I think there may be some issues sometimes with, I didn't vote for that, kind of thing.
Did you combine a couple of them?
Well, I may have. That's why I said I don't know exactly where it came from, but my point in doing that.
Maybe it's, St. Lucie says the minutes of each special, oh, no, that's not it.
No.
No, that's not enough.
But the reason I say that, you need to be talking into the mic, Tori.
Palm Beach.
I just think it makes it clearer what we want to have captured in the minutes. And as our attorney stipulated at the meeting, all members have to vote on issues, so I
So
think,
this is what you want to say,
yeah. And I can share this with
Palm
you.
Beach? Is that all, you want to say all that?
I didn't need all of that, that's why I wrote it in a shorter version, but if you want to put all that, you can.
Okay. Did you get what you wanted to say?
I can give you, it's in there, I mean, it's
Okay,
in the,
there. Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Does that sound good to y'all?
Yeah. In terms of who's actually taking the minutes though?
Today,
I don't think we need to have that in the bylaws, do we?
no,
That's because we have to vote 2/3, just like it's gonna take.
Yeah, I was going from her day, somebody, I think her day was
well, she wanted to know who was taking minutes, because, our first two meetings, the first meeting, we had a volunteer, the second meeting, we had a volunteer. When the administrator and the chair get together to discuss what's happening, I think we have gotten a loan for the time being. But that'll be something that they'll decide. I mean, yeah.
That could be in the policy as to who, how long they keep the bylaws, the minutes, how long is it?
No, that's in statute, that's
it's
in
in
your
statute.
book.
It's not-
That's in that 250-page book.
Gotcha, I haven't read that one.
Yeah, I was going, because
Me neither.
it's very, you have to keep it for a certain length of time,
But
and,
the judge asked when to know how they're preserved, how long they're preserved, but that doesn't even go in the bylaws, is what I'm saying.
no, because that would be directed by statute.
Okay. Comments, questions? Okay. Then there's this initial year of existence. Now, this is not in everyone's bylaws, but for some reason it says they put it in the draft bylaws
Yeah.
for ours.
And there, yeah, and I didn't know why it was there either, but it's okay. And she suggests that you put a Escambia County ordinance.
Y'all want to keep that in there, take that out? It's only going to be effective for this 1 year. If we can later amend the bylaws to.
I don't really see any reason for it to be there.
Let's just take it out.
Okay.
That was great. That was great. All right, voting.
I had, and this is just me, I didn't know that we needed the quorum first, establishing the quorum. And one thing that I noticed as I read through each of the different ones is that sometimes it talks about quorum relating to the number of people present, and sometimes it relates to the number of people totally on the board.
Serving.
So is that the affirmative vote of a majority of members present versus?
See, I think that's what we've got to decide, because that, to me, a quorum should be of the people that are there.
Right.
Or you said that if we're a 10-member board, at least 6 have to be present in order to hold a meeting.
Right.
And I think that's what we need to say.
Okay. So let's start with the quorum. Quorum should be A. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
quorum should be, that's fine, doesn't matter to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Quorum should be A, and it says, "The presence of a majority of all members serving on the board shall be necessary at any meeting constitute a quorum to transact business." But we should put,
I don't think we have to say 6. As I read this, I mean, we're knowing that it's gonna be 6, 10 of us, but should somebody resign, and we're waiting on another appointment,
Right.
we might be less than 10.
right, and then you're down to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless we wanted to stipulate that we always have to have at least 6, no matter how many people are serving at a time.
I think, I think quorum will serve the purpose. I think we're gonna run into trouble if we don't have it, somebody resigns or we're having to wait.
Because
Or
it
say
says
two.
the majority of all members serving on the board. It doesn't say people present. So if we're at 10 and only 7 people are there, the quorum is still 6.
Yeah.
See, so without specifying a number, you're still saying, because you're saying all members
All
serving.
members serving. That's gonna be good to know. We need to make sure that the other, when we meet, that quorum is always gonna be 6 regardless if we have 7 people there, or it's always gonna be 6, because that's
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah, it is.
The question was also raised, the event of a tie. With 10 members, it's a possibility. They didn't know, I don't have an answer, I just know the question was raised.
You're looking at me, because the chair makes a,
In
Let's
real
specify.
world, a tie, the motion is not adopted. On the school board, if we're missing somebody and it's 2-2, the motion does not pass.
okay, do we need to put that in?
No,
Or is
that's
that
Robert's rules.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. so
If you don't have a majority, you don't win.
Right, that makes sense. So the presence of a majority of all members serving on the board should be necessary at any meeting.
Okay.
So that goes to A. Now, so B would be each member shall have 1 vote, which may only be exercised by the member and not by a proxy or designee, with the exception of the DCF person.
Yes. And I know that the judge at one time wondered if she could have a designee, but I didn't see that anywhere in any of the others.
No, I didn't know. I mean, I feel like, I don't know why DCF has a designee,
Is it because he was already?
but all the
No.
other ones have it as well. If you look
You
at-
know,
Yeah.
I think it's just something that they incorporated by statute. I mean, you know, it's like they get to have a designee and nobody else does.
Well, but by statute, they cover a larger area,
Right.
so
And it
it
might
just
be-
makes sense, somebody
Yeah.
more
Right.
familiar, but that's just,
It's not in the statute.
You can ask Michelle why they do that. Why don't you ask Michelle why they do that?
Okay.
Because, you know, I thought it was odd that that was the only person that could have a designee, but
It seems like everybody else on the board also lives in
But he introduced the person who's going to be his replacement. The reason he's here is because they just had someone retire, and he didn't, I don't know whether he had replaced them yet or not, but he made that comment that I'm here until, yeah, and so, because he also serves on the Leon County Trust.
The person that retired would also still, the person that retired would also still would have been his designee though, correct? So this person is just a retired person.
No, she's the new one.
She's the new
But I'm
one.
saying the old person still would have been his designee, not him.
No, it would have been district administrator, that, whatever our district is.
So I believe Tallahassee,
Our district,
DCF is from here
to
to.
Walton County,
okay.
it's this
That-
county.
maybe that's why it's a
Oh,
designee.
oh, region, that would be our region. So
Yeah, it's
our region is the 4 regions.
It's the 4 counties.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they can have a designee, because
They can
it's
live in
a, it's
Walton
a,
County
it's
too.
4 counties, and maybe they want somebody who's actually in Escambia County to do it.
We would like that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the judge marked off, she didn't like the word proxy, she just liked the word designee.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
good.
fine with me. I mean,
Well, because a proxy would assume that you could send a sheet of paper in and that
yes,
person could vote.
exactly, yes. Okay,
So we're gonna take out and not by proxy or.
okay. And then, okay, action on any proposal other than the amendment of these bylaws, hiring an executive director, or adoption of the annual budget shall require an affirmative vote of the majority of the members present. Now explain that in legal, and not in legal terms for the people
What
who are.
that's saying is that when we vote on the bylaws,
Right,
we have a 10-member board. You have to have the majority of those 10 to pass this. Now, many organizations and Robert's rules would probably suggest that you have a 2/3 vote on bylaws and amendments.
well,
That's the
we
next
do, we do,
Yeah.
that's why I don't understand.
Well, but then there's the
Then there's the next
budget.
one. So it takes,
Is the budget listed, approval
the
of budget?
budget's not 2/3, it's just the,
But it's the majority,
to me, this is a little confusing. I feel like this could be done much,
yeah.
much clearer to me.
I think it could too.
That's why
I think
I'm
you
like,
need
let's
to
make
write
this-
it as something along the lines of, majority votes required, and then you can do a D, action on items related to bylaws. If it's only the bylaws, or are we gonna say that we want the budget to be a 2/3 vote?
I think in the executive director as well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine
Or
with
do we
that.
want just a majority? That would be a discussion.
What do y'all think?
For,
Do we want, so bylaws are 2/3 of all serving members of the trust. Do we think that the adoption of the annual budget and executive director should be 2/3 of the members of the trust?
I think so.
So they all should be 2/3 members of the trust.
Those
Think
are
about what
two
you're asking for.
I know, so that would be,
2/3 of the,
of 10.
even if somebody is, if we're waiting on the seat, that would still mean 2/3
Yeah,
of 10.
I'm just saying that, you know,
So-
is 6 out of 10 enough to hire an executive director or to approve an annual budget, or do you need 8 out of 10? Because the way it's written here, you could go, because it's talking about the members present, you could still say 2/3 of the members present, whereas
I know, this is why
bylaws
it's
is
confusing.
2/3 of everything.
Bylaws is
Doesn't
2/3 of, bylaws, you have to have 8 out of
2/3
10.
Yeah,
This is saying, let's say we only have 8 members there.
yeah.
We have to have,
All of them vote. on
We'd
that.
have to have all of them.
So that's
vote.
what I'm saying, so serving members, not members present, is what you're saying. This is
Yeah,
saying
and the-
serving members, not
In
members
C,
present.
it's relating, that is a vote of members present.
so let's say we have 8 members present, we would have to have a
5.
majority, 5.
If you had 6 members present, which is your quorum, you could elect an executive director with 4.
The way I feel about it is, I'm fine with the members present, because we're gonna put this agenda out 7 days before. People know what's gonna be on the agenda. If they know that we're hiring an executive director, then they're gonna make every effort to be there. And if they have to be out of town, then maybe we could work something out where we can move the meeting to a different day. Or, you know, or wait and hold, something like that. So it's not gonna be a surprise at what we're doing.
And if-
I
So-
agree. I mean, in that's the way it's written in most, I think, at all the other ones, so it seems to have worked for them. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the difference.
Yeah, I didn't, so I would have, it just takes a while, it's written,
I've been studying these for
it's
a
written,
few months.
it's written poorly, I feel like. I feel like we could make it more clear, but except all of them, they all say the same
They're all
thing.
saying back the same thing, yeah.
But it's just, I feel like it's all not written very clearly.
And the thing that, I know we have a separate section and I would not make bylaws capitalized. I don't know whether the judge said that too, I don't know.
No, she said.
She said make it
No,
capitalized.
they're not capitalized.
But I don't know whether we want to put in bylaws anything about electronic voting because of the COVID environment. I think, there's a part of me that says that's a policy that we could put in to policy. At the school district, we have to have at least 3 people present in the room, and others can call in. But now, the rule is that you can't just be on vacation and call
Right.
in. You're not supposed to be able to do that. But say someone, we just don't want to say anything awful, but maybe they have a sick child at home, and they just can't find anybody to take care of them, and, you know, they'd like to still participate. I think that's a legitimate excuse. And I remember when I talked to Lee Pinkerton and also when I talked to Ms. Rogers, what they suggested was that at each meeting, you could say, this evening, Tori Woods cannot be here, but because of an unexpected, but she will call in, and it's at the public pleasure of the board that she be allowed to participate. But the question comes, do we vote? Because, and this is one thing you, the attorney, might want to look into. There was a meeting of the county commission in Leon County, maybe, you know, COVID has just messed up my timeline so much. But there were 4 people there and 1 person calling in, and it was a 2-2. And so the question was, can the person on the phone break the tie? And I don't know what the answer was, because it was being discussed.
Well, I
after
think
the-
that goes, can the person on the phone vote?
That's it.
And Ms. Rogers said something that they couldn't vote, they could establish quorum, but they couldn't vote. But they could
I
be
would
present.
not let them establish
Yeah,
quorum.
They
I
could
would-
establish quorum.
And I would let them participate in the discussion, but maybe not vote. I don't know, and that could be, but I think that's something that we've got to be ready to address.
In the bylaws or in the, go ahead, David.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a slippery slope of not even being able to do business, and usually phone communication is cumbersome at best with speakerphone, can you hear us, and all that. I think it's important that you've got to be here, especially I mean, certain circumstances, I get it, but it's over the last year, it's been a lot like that with different boards I've been on, but I think the importance of
Okay.
being
So
present.
just don't
So
say.
just not put anything in there. Because the reason we could meet virtually during COVID was by executive order.
Right, Miami-Dade has it that they could call in, but they cannot vote, speak,
Yeah,
or establish quorum. Basically, you can just be a regular person and just call in,
yeah.
which isn't, no,
I mean, the only difference is, and I don't know whether the county's this way, but at the school district, if you call in, you can't be watching because it's on delay. So it's very difficult for all the reasons that David just alluded to. So I think it's better just
leave it
to,
out. Okay, so we're gonna just leave everything as is, right? Unless we want to try to reword it, but I don't really know, every other, unless, there's not necessarily a reason to reword everything. So are we good with the voting part?
yeah, I don't know that we need any, I think this is the way they put it, the approval of the budget and setting the millage shall be as established by law. I mean, do we need to put a reference to the law? You don't think, so? I mean,
Let's see.
if anybody were looking to find out where it was referenced, or, we'll leave it. Just leave
Okay,
it. Yeah.
all right,
So we're on to officers.
officers. The judge moved the officers to the first page.
But that's, we're gonna keep it where it is that what we
Yeah.
decided? Okay.
Yeah. I
Some
don't
of
think
them
she
have-
changed anything, did she? I think she just moved them. I don't think she changed any words.
Some had secretary, some had treasurer, some
Yeah.
had executive committee, so that
Yeah.
might want to be
Yeah.
addressed.
Well, and I had written a lot of that stuff in too.
My car, can I get to the parking lot out that door, or do I have to walk around? You know,
I have no idea.
the parking lot is where,
She might know.
The
parking lot, can I go that way or did I go that way?
You can go that way and use the back door, or you can use this way. Either one works.
All right, for the officers,
Do y'all think we should have treasurer or secretary or both?
if we're going to hire a clerk, I don't think you need a secretary.
Agree.
And I
Just be
think,
a
I
name.
think that an executive director would serve as an executive secretary to the group that would do all those duties. There wasn't anything in here that designated who signs checks.
It says the chair will, the primary check signer of the trust, or subject to countersign by another member of the trust or the executive director. You see that?
I do see that, but do you want the treasurer to be able to sign, or,
The treasurer should be able to sign as well. I guess. PTA, that's how it's done.
yeah.
That's on,
I guess the part that we have to make sure is that two officers can't be the only two signatures.
yeah, we don't want that.
I think just leave it.
Leave
A
it.
lot of things, we can get, if we can get the bylaws set up, then as we put into place policies, then you realize that maybe your bylaws don't reflect what you're doing.
Right, and you can amend the
And you have to
bylaws.
amend them. I would set up the part in the vacancies. We need another, like a section E, vacancies on the board. I think there were several places. Where it says the vacancies of trust or board members shall be filled by the appropriate authority in accordance with Florida Statute 125. That means if one of the governor's appointees resigns, then the governor's responsible for the appointment. If I resign, the school board's responsible.
Okay, that's a good one. And, let's see, is this where committees should be?
And I was thinking, yeah, because I put in committees, didn't I?
Well, finance, it's under, why not, finance, it's under finances, I don't think it should be under finance.
No, it shouldn't. Yeah, that's why I moved it.
Okay, let's move this to, so we have an E, vacancy of
Board.
a board. Okay, go back to D, it says, in the event of the vacancy of the positions of the chair, vice chair, treasurer, the position should be filled at the next meeting of the members. And then the next sentence is any vacancy in other offices. What other offices? That result from the selection may be filled. Oh, I guess if, okay, got you.
Like
So
if-
a
if-
chair, vice chair, vice chair, yeah.
Yeah,
okay. All right,
yeah.
Vacancy of the board is
Yeah.
E, and then F will be committee members, committees.
Okay.
And then the committee says,
Standing committees may be established by the majority vote of the board. Ad hoc, established by the chair. I know some of the bylaws had standing committees. But I'm not ready to put standing committees in yet.
no, we don't know what we need.
No. I mean, we could go from what they have put in, like finance, personnel, programming.
No.
But I think maybe what we want to say instead, well, I'd almost let the chair make the decision, but it's saying the majority of the trust, so, okay,
Just leave that as it
Yeah.
is, okay.
yeah. Is ad hoc the same as advisory?
Yes, I was just gonna ask that. How-
Ad hoc is something that has a short term, like if we wanted somebody to look at juvenile justice and come back to us with a report on what the
Yeah.
needs are by a certain date. That's an ad hoc committee with a specific purpose,
Purpose, okay.
which is kind of like an advisory committee in my mind. So we're moving committee up to,
Over to, we're moving committee under the officers.
yeah. Do we need anything that establishes who may serve on the committee. I know there was some discussion at prior meetings as to whether we could have members of the community serving on committees. Can we just
Broward
put that in
does it.
policy?
Broward had it, must have been in their bylaws. It
Yeah.
says they can have community members on
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it
committee.
does.
Yes, I know, that's why I put it down as a
E is
question.
gonna be, knowing about the, if there's board vacancies, what to do with that, and how they need to be filled by the appropriate appointed authority in accordance with Florida statutes. And then F is gonna be committees.
But, oh, you're just still under voting?
No.
Yeah,
Oh.
because we moved things from,
Right, to me, that about the appropriate authorities should be under membership.
it is, we
It is.
moved it.
Okay. That's
We
what
moved it because it
to.
wasn't in the right
Okay, I
place.
thought you were saying E's for that, so it's,
Yeah, it's F under Article 5.
And what was,
No, Article 4.
board
Article
vacancies?
4.
What is that under?
So which one? Sorry.
Board vacancies?
That's gonna be E. It's gonna go D, in the event of vacancy in the position of the chair, vice chair, or treasurer, so you can be filled in next meeting.
Okay,
And then
okay.
E is the vacancy of the board, if there's a vacancy of one of us. And then F is gonna be about committees.
Oh, I was saying, board vacancies, where is that on here? Is it-
Oh, it's not on there, we're adding it.
We're
It's,
adding
If
it.
you look under,
I was just making sure I wasn't. missing-
Broward has it, I think, this is Broward.
Yeah.
Um,
Broward, I think Hillsborough does,
Yeah, it's actually Hillsborough, 4.2.
yeah.
I just trying to follow along.
I know.
make sure
Okay. So committees, we're gonna put about who's gonna be a member of them, or just leave that blank?
Well, I just asked the question. I think for right now, you can, but it may be a conversation that we need to have with the board if we decide to have policies regarding, because I'm thinking realistically, the 10 of us are going to need, you know, each member of the board could be a chair of a committee, but they would not, we don't need to have 4 committees and divide ourselves 4 times,
Right.
but I don't know yet, so this is new.
All right, section 5, conduct of business. Or section, whatever you want to do. It's just-
it.
I like the budgeting language. That was, where was that? It was Hillsborough. I didn't write it all out. But we can use what we have. She's made some changes with just statute references. And this, I don't like anything in bylaws as soon as possible. That's not good business. It's in section 2 under budgeting.
Okay.
I think in several of them, it said within 15 days or within 2 weeks or,
Okay, what do
yeah.
you believe is best?
I just don't think as soon as possible is good for bylaws. It could work in policies, but
Within 2 weeks, or within
I'd say within 15
15
days.
business days, or
Yeah,
just 15 days?
just 15 days. Because you're going to be governed
Right.
by trim as to how quickly it happens, but I just didn't like as soon as possible.
The maximum possible is not very soon possible.
That is very true.
Okay. And then elections and vacancies, does that go under, I guess it doesn't apply to business?
And that's when I had put in, actually, that was where I had put in the vacancies of the trust board, but we put it in the other place, so I don't think it matters.
This is just, the budgeting part, shouldn't that go under finance?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's
I mean,
not
I
unusual,
relabeled conduct of business finance. And just,
but- And move out fiscal year, put all that
Yeah.
together. To me, that makes more sense. We've already taken committees out of finance.
yeah, finance ought to be about finance.
So conduct of business, Because the written report is about finance too. Is that okay with y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have, should we have fiscal year be section 1, and then reporting section 2, and then budgeting section 3?
Yeah.
And then elections and vacancies, should that be under officers' elections and vacancies?
I think so.
Preferably, I mean,
To me, it makes more sense to be
Yeah.
there.
okay, I'll move that over there. Okay.
Now, the,
It says the executive, and then under finance, section 2, it says the executive director shall be responsible to maintain the year on budget. Trust shall, she just changed must to shall, submit a certified budget no later than July 1. I'll move that over to finance section as well.
okay.
And that's all statutory, so it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. We good on all that stuff? Okay. Employment of executive director? The judge mostly just,
Yeah, she just
she
changed,
just changed it. She had a question
and-
about requirements of executive director, and if so, prerequisites, employee, employment, background check, work history, but I don't think that goes in the bylaws. That's for us to decide when we vote on that person, right?
and this answers who keeps up with everything, because in number 4 says maintains all records. That answers the judge's questions on that. And I don't know where it should go, whether it should go, because this just came to me this morning and I forgot to write it down. The fact that each of us has to do our financial disclosure, should that be in the bylaws or can that just go in policy?
Just, I mean, it's not in anyone's bylaws.
No, I didn't see it there, so,
I think just policy.
okay.
Okay. Any thoughts about employment executive director? She just changed some wording. She can
Yeah.
accept her wording.
Yeah,
Um,
because we're going to change the board.
conflict of interest.
And this is something that we're going to need to talk to Ms. Rogers about, if she's serving as our attorney at this point. I think it's going to be important for us to know which of our members serve on the same boards. I mean, we're going to, because that's why I did that conflict of interest form that I gave to you, because it's very similar to the impact where you list all the boards you serve on. Just because, like this morning, Tori and I were on a Zoom meeting together, and of course, Tim and I serve on
Oh,
the
well,
board together, but, you know, we have different roles. But I just think it would be helpful to whomever becomes our legal representative to understand all of the places that we might interact outside of this meeting.
That's something that Carolyn would do? No?
I'll talk to,
I mean, I can talk to Allison about it, but I didn't know if Carolyn, if we should fill out the form and then just give it to Carolyn, maybe?
oh, to be ready, because we're going to be hiring legal help, if not Allison, soon. Yeah.
Okay.
What, and I don't know where, if that falls under B, but like, whenever I do my conflict of interest for work, they ask like relationships. So I don't see like a relationship, like a family member, like if, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
like
see
the
that.
real conflict of interest language. Yeah,
Because my ex is, you know, if I have a family member, like if, especially when we were looking at funding, like if my sister's asking for funding Like, you know,
How would you?
that I don't have to,
Okay.
based on this, I don't have to disclose
No,
that my
you're right.
sister is, or my daughter is eligible for funding, I don't have to
But you
disclose
do
that.
by law.
Yeah, by law.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it might not hurt to have some of that, because we have it at the district, you know, that, which
okay,
they,
it says employee
where a member
member
of the governing authority disclose their interest in said program or agency and file a disclosure statement.
Does that cover that?
Well, look at C, though, members of the trust will comply with all Florida statutes related to conflicts of interest.
Yeah,
So that might cover
Cover
that.
that covers
Family
it.
members.
Yeah, and we just need to make sure everybody understands, because it always gets into the weeds when you're talking about who is my family member, how far down
How
the
far would
tree
you
do I
go?
go?
Oh, good golly. Okay, yes, I know.
And Pensacola is small.
Yes, and everybody's related, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So we might just need some, you know, she did a
Have the
short brief
attorney
on
do
that, yeah.
That'd be a good thing to do. Attorney presentation on conflict of interest, basically, just cover all of
Yeah.
that. Okay. Anything else on that? And then the general powers of the council, the trust, and carrying out, what is that supposed to mean?
I don't know, in
Shall
Broward's, I've got Article 7 in Broward. Maybe they had a better, I'd have to pull it, I can't pull it up, so y'all have got your, you killed a lot of trees.
We did, I know. So they don't have it in Hillsborough.
No, it was Broward that had something evidently that was more, it told more about what was going on.
Broward has a lot of stuff.
They
in
do.
there. A lot.
If you've ever been connected with Broward, you
They're the
understand.
ones with 33 members? Aren't they the ones with 33 members?
No, Miami has 33.
33, yeah, they're,
They have 11. The Children's Services Council, in carrying out its authorized duties, shall exercise the general powers set forth below. It goes over policies and programs, finance, and something that's cut out.
so let's just leave it alone and leave it the way it is, but
Should we cut it? Do we need it
I
in
mean-
there? I don't think we need it.
I don't know why it's
It
there.
says set forth below, there's nothing set forth below.
Well, that was the reason I moved it to like if the general powers would have to come way up before
I
where
don't
it
think
is.
we need that because the statute gives us our powers. I think it's, is that okay with y'all? Okay, all right, I don't wanna offend.
Well, you know, after we do this, send it to Michelle Watson and see if we had to have
Yeah,
some
okay.
places.
All right, rules
And
of
then-
order.
And I changed all that.
Yes, I wanna do Robert's rules. Is that okay with
And
y'all?
the reason I asked,
Yes.
because I had called, because I asked, well, and I asked, I said, I called Alachua, because these were based on Alachua's, because they were the most recent, and they said, well, that's what our county uses. And so, Roberts is what our county uses, and it's what our school board uses, so I appreciate using Roberts.
Yes.
The other standard is a more, it would address some of the issues you were asking me about earlier. It's very user-friendly in that you can talk a lot before you make a motion.
Okay, we'll do Robert's rules. All right, board attendance. And that's fine. I mean, there's no,
Yeah, and, okay, let me read this again. If a member has 3 consecutive absences, a total of 5 from the regular duty, except under extreme circumstances. All right, gives you the chair the authority, okay.
But it says may request, so she asked me to resign and I tell her no, then what?
the chair may request a member compiling such absences, which I don't understand. I mean, I would have to ask
That's a
you to
good
resign.
point.
I would have to do a motion to ask you to resign. So it have to be, and then someone have to second that. We have to
Well,
vote on it.
Yeah, with the school board member, it'd be very easy. You'd send a letter to the chair of the school board and say, Ms. Hightower's not showing up, I need a new person. With county commission would be the same way. The problem is the gubernatorial appointments. In my mind, would be where
But
where,
wouldn't we vote on it as a,
if you put it in bylaws that the person that misses 5 meetings out of 12, that, you may say, you may not want to say may request.
The chair will request the member to resign from the board.
Yeah, you can request, and they may accept it and say, yeah, you're right. But I guess if it goes further, then we can come back to the board for a vote. I don't know how much of the weeds you get into the bylaws with that.
Well, I think probably, again, this might be a policy thing where you could put in there that after 3 absences, a member is notified that they have missed 3 meetings and, you
And I
know,
think
that kind of thing.
I think saying will, like for us, especially right now, because we have so many, so say, because we're doing one every 2 weeks, is that strong? Because we've had to have so many to get it established. If somebody misses one of those every 2 weeks ones, does that make them?
It says from regular board
regular?
meetings.
Right. All
And
right,
so
that answers
most
my
of ours,
question.
yeah. So, you know, if we put something in place, because, you know, a business person, a county commissioner might have to be out of town for some reason and would have been here other than that. You know, and so I know when I was chair of the foundation board, we had this kind of rule there. But usually, it wasn't the person just sitting at home eating bonbons or something. It was because their business required them to be out of town. And so I think that's why the language is may, is
Right.
because you can look at the extenuating circumstances, determine whether they are fully engaged in the process, but just missing meetings.
So leave it as is.
And we've decided not to do anything about virtual attendance, so I'm gonna take that
And
word out.
I like what the judge said, she's compiling such absences, just take that out. All right, amendments, we already talked about amendments, I don't know why.
We have to have a section on amendments. It's a rule.
It's a little Robert. Okay. Do we miss anything?
Did we want to add, the judge had put under employment of executive director, you may have said this and I was zoned out for a moment. Her sentence shall be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the trust and serve as a liaison.
Oh, she added that? Okay,
Yeah.
she-
It's number 8 on her thing.
I think that's good, and then she has, okay.
Yeah, carrying out-
Other functions that may be delegated. I
Yeah,
think that's good.
yeah, she had added a lot of things under here.
Right, I think everything that she added is good.
So are you going to just add what she had there?
Don't you think?
I think that's fine, yeah, yeah. I don't see anything that should cause, yeah. I just hadn't, yeah, I looked at these a while back.
Well, I think that covers.
Oh, and then she added, this is where, when we were talking about the conflict of interest,
Yes.
she added what we were discussing to include Part 3 of Chapter
Right,
112.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right. And then some of them had stuff about lobbying as a that you can't see that in some of them.
Yeah.
Do we need to add that to our bylaws or?
I don't think so at this
Or
point.
policy? Or it's, they weren't in all of them, it was just in a few of them. Okay. Okay, so what I will do is I will work with Carolyn to get a copy of these, of all the things that we suggested, redlined to the ones that Michelle sent out with your comments, with everyone's comments. That will be attached to the agenda that's going out tomorrow.
I would
Well, and that's
just,
why, if the attachments don't have to go out
Okay.
tomorrow, that's what,
Okay.
because we
yeah,
do need
I
to
would,
set that.
I would not, you're just going to put a document
One
together.
document, yes, one document.
Okay. With the number.
Your comments, with her comments,
I-
all together, and it's just gonna be one red line.
Yeah,
Do you?
yeah. No, I'm just making sure that you're not putting anything in there as to who did
Said
what.
what? No.
This
It's
is,
gonna be-
the committee, this is a recommendation from the bylaws committee to the board of
To the
directors.
board, and I was going to, I was going to redline this document that she sent out to me.
That's the one I would do.
But I don't have to redline it, I could just put it in there without redlining it.
I don't think you really, I would be inclined to just do it without the red
Okay,
lines.
that's what, yeah, and let them read over.
What would you think?
Yeah, that's fine. I think
This is what the committee came up with.
Right.
And they can sit there with their own document and, you know,
When should these attachments be, okay,
as
that's.
soon as possible.
Right, I mean, it doesn't have, well, I agree, no, I agree, because y'all need time to, I mean, I don't wanna put it in there Monday night, and that's not. fair
No,
to anybody.
I would try to get it in there, you
So
know.
I'll work on that.
Well, the other question is, we're going to be gathering some other stuff for the needs meeting. I hate to trickle you to death, but is it better to go ahead if we've got the bylaws, say, here's the bylaws, more will be coming on needs
Yeah.
later?
Because the needs committee's not meeting until the Monday.
Monday.
Oh,
Right, so we're not
right,
gonna
the
have
day before,
terrible
you're not gonna
time.
have it.
That's
Yeah.
why we're gonna we talked about discussing the
Yeah.
needs meeting,
Yeah.
the 22nd,
Yeah,
the next.
yeah, because you're not going to have time to really get us,
Right, remember, because we made, I mean,
Yeah.
we made a good comment, it's like we won't have time, so we'll discuss the needs at the needs assessment meeting, and then we'll wait till the 22nd to really go over what happened. So the 11th meeting will be more about bylaws, and probably about lawyer and finance stuff.
Procurement
and
policy,
stuff.
you're
And
gonna-
hopefully it
yeah.
won't be.
Okay.
but I would think that if you could get them to them before the weekend, so
Yes.
that people would have
Yes.
time over the weekend,
I'll try to get it.
Right.
you know, because everybody has a job.
is that to the Google Drive? You drop it in there? Is that how we're communicating now? Or?
It's gotta be on the Escambia County.
Yeah,
website.
when they send it to Sharon in Janice Gilly's office, she will link it. And so when you go to My Meetings on the Escambia site, and we'll also be putting it on the.
We will be getting
The
it,
trust
yes.
site.
Um,
And then you'll just be able to link, you know, it'll say bylaws, click that, and the document will be there. It's the way I envision it.
That's the way, I like
Yeah,
that envision, I like that envision, that's good, envision.
That's the way we do it at the district, so,
To communicate with the board members, the trust. Here it is, and
Go to this
Or you can send
website.
it to the
And
county
it's kind of like what they did for our first one, it's like, click on this link, and it takes you to everything.
yeah.
and Carolyn can probably just send an email out that says the agenda has been published, and click, and include the website where it's published for the members to go to. That's the way I get my planning board stuff. It comes, it says, go to this site, and it takes me to the Mike Escambia and board meetings and that kind of stuff, so. Am I saying anything wrong there? You're understanding that that's what happens?
Yeah, we send it to the CMR department, and then they can just link all of your documents to our website.
And I have a question. I did not get the email to set up my
I didn't
email.
either.
Okay.
I
Kim,
got an email saying someone should ask me if I was available for them to set it up, but I don't know if there was an email before. I didn't get anything on how to set it up.
Kim said that only Dr. Smith and David Peden have set theirs up.
I set mine up.
So she sent yours to Florida Adoptions, yours to Tori.Woods,
I'll
Gmail.
go back through.
I got it.
I
She's,
even went through my
she's
spam.
resending, she's
Okay.
resending.
Okay, I mean, I went through my spam, I didn't get in my spam.
Okay.
Okay. All right, are we, any more business to discuss? Any public input out there? Okay. All right, we're adjourned.
The bill that Ms. Hightower was referring to regarding the legal